Dear Venerable Sister, brothers and Dhamma friends, today also we are going to start the Dhamma talk. May everyone settle down for the talk and give the consent with 3 times sadhu sadhu sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Katame tayo dhamma bahukara sappurisa sansevo saddhamma savanang dhammanu dhamma patipatti ti. Dear Venerable Sister, brothers and Dhamma friends, this is the way Venerable Sariputta is opening the topic in the Dasuththara Sutta to deal with the most greatly helpful 3 things to introduce to the other meditators, and he is asking what are the 3 things greatly helpful in achieving the task. So first and foremost, as we discussed, it is the Sappurisa Sansevo, association with the noble friend, or a true person, true man. And the second one is listening to the pure Dhamma, and once that is fulfilled, you have to strive. Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatti. And this Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatti have a wider application or range, but according to the way the Buddha presented, it's easily we can say it's the 37 factors of enlightenment. So to start this striving, you must first and foremost have the association with the noble person or a true man, and then you must know the Dhamma at least on theoretical basis. And if you can go further, get the deductive knowledge or inferential knowledge and remember them, still better. And the third part is that put into practice. That is what you call Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatti, live according to the way that you have learned. So this is what we are doing here, specifically in the residential retreat. And when and where the Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatti come into the discussion, the first comes the 4 foundation of mindfulness. In the sense, the most important thing that you have to understand is the mindfulness. Of course, it is the starting point. And that also has 4 foundations. And yesterday, we took time to understand when and where you use your body or materiality or corporeality as a object of meditation, as a benchmark, as a reference point. There are many ways you can look at the body for postures, in-breath and out-breath, 4 elements, and its repulsive nature, comparing it with the corpse. Many ways the Buddha presented. And in the Theravada tradition, in Satipatthana Sutta, we start with Anapanasati or mindfulness on the in-breath and out-breath. In the comparative studies with the Sanskrit basis, when compared to this Pali canon, the order of presentation is different. The Anapanasati appear not at the beginning, it appear somewhat middle, and whatever may be the content is the same. So, when you take the body, kaya is a heap, and you have to understand, as it is a heap, you can't understand the reality. So you have to apply it, or you have to take it up to the minimum unit, and that only you can start with the mindfulness. That theory is we call reductionism, and that is the science. Whenever you wish to understand mass, you reduce to the utmost minimum and then study and see the same quality you find in the agglomerated mass. And whenever it comes to the agglomeration, there's a kind of addition, more than the summation of the ingredients. There's a kind of a notion, perception appear. That's to say, when you put the spare parts separate and you put everything and make a car, ultimately the appearance of the car, the function of car is not the addition or summation of the individual parts. When everything happens, it is developing a potential to purpose the service, a kind of a function. Likewise, we have all the particles, and when the particles are separate, you don't find the male-femaleness, you don't find any kind of attribution, but everything comes together. You find a male, female, young, old age, all the kind of thing. So therefore, even for the scientific sake, or even for the reductionism sake, some people are not happy to see the body as its individual parts. That means they are not happy to put one's own life, one's own body on experimental basis and consider this a creation of the God. You can't cut and analyze it. Many theories. But the Buddha was the first person take the body analytically, separate, try to give the attention to the whatever may be the prominent part out of the mass, out of the agglomeration, and then you find a way plunging into. That is how the breath, the air element come into being. Or it may be the rising and falling. When you are walking, you take the hardness, softness, earth element may be. And different elements you can see according to the posture. So there are a lot of ways you can make use this body as a pivotal point, as a reference point, as an object of meditation. It's a quite contradictory way, or non-radical, non-conventional way, a radical way, the Buddha using one's own body as a object of meditation. All the other religious people consider the body is something extraordinary, so nothing to be cut and open. And therefore, whenever you cut open the body, it is a challenge to the Creator God, it's a challenge to the intelligent design, and you try to analyze the God mind. You are trying to analyze the creation of the God. And that is how it became a revolutionary. And ultimately, if you go back to the medical science, this is the beginning of the medical science. Before that, the medical science was a mystic. After you cut open the body, only you can see the systems, different ways. So anyone, up to the Buddha, anyone cut open and try to analyze the body systems, they considered as heretic. They have been killed, and their traditions and their lineage has been massacred, telling it is going against the intelligent design. After the enlightenment of the Buddha, he was the person told, even though you take your body as such a supreme creation, and it's a extraordinary kind of thing, cut open and see it is nothing but 32 part of putrefaction, a shit. It's called asuchino pacchavekkhati. You see, not a single part you can keep inside the safe and take it as a venerable and honorable and as a something valuable. It's such a dirties, 32. And then everyone criticized the Buddha, telling he make very, very nihilistic and very, very critical kind of thing, but no one can deny. So when and where someone is looking at the body, mindfulness is the medium way. You are not over beautify or over indulge your body, or you are not putting into the self-mortification, then don't the mindfulness come into being. So therefore this is the beginning of the mindfulness. Concentrate the mindful on the corporeality. And there also, yesterday I just wanted to go a little further regarding this sampajanya. We studied yesterday, whenever you become mindful on the body, sati, then there are ways and means the clear comprehension can come and set in. The 4 things we discussed was gochara sampajanya, sappaya sampajanya, sattaka sampajanya, and asammoha sampajanya. Whenever mind is running up and down, that may unmindful, maybe wandering mind, take your body as the pivotal point, bring it back as this is a pasture land. And later, sappaya sampajanya, when it's going further, as far as it is under light of mindfulness, little slowly, let the mind to be diversified, or mindfulness to be diversified, and slowly go into the outer area, which is not directly opposite of your mindfulness, that's sappaya area, or conducive areas, sattaka sampajanya, and whatever may be giving nutriments, giving fertilizer for the meditation in the sense mindfulness, you promote it, knowing its meaning. If it is distracting, it is doubtful, if it is uncertain, it is kind of fearful, you bring it back to the known area, to your pasture land, and ultimately the asammoha sampajanya, whenever mind is jumping from safe area to the unsafe area, whenever it is coming from unsafe to the safe area, thin slicing of time and see how it is going out, how it's coming back. Don't get panic, don't get critical, don't get self-critical, and see how it is happening. And if you can understand the way out and coming back, that is the way you give a better chance for the mindfulness to gain the ground. So asammoha sampajanya is very important thing. When you lose the control and when you gain the control, don't let loose your confidence. Try as much as possible under the light of mindfulness. So here the mindfulness is normal mindfulness. Whenever you try to be asammoha, not to get bewildered, it's a special kind of mindfulness, the sharp kind of mindfulness. Understand, even the mindfulness is not under your control, sometimes run away, and naturally it come back. So therefore, you can understand the behavior of mindfulness. With respect to that, there's another definition you find in the Satipatthana Sutta. The different postures, rather the 4 cardinal postures are separately treated as 4 cardinal postures, and the sub-postures or posture junctions are again considered as sampajanya. That means when you are sitting and from sitting to the standing happens, posture junctions are there. So these are the points easily you can let loose your mindfulness if you're going to do it in a swift way. So do it in a slowly, do it in a mindful way, and do it in a silent way, so that you can see how the configuration is changing. While it is happening, is your mindfulness is continuous or persistent, or is it changing? Is it breaking? Or is it challenge, at danger? So this is called posture junctions, one posture to the other, or intermediate postures. This is also a kind of a treatment of your mindfulness to multitasking, starting from one single posture, longer time, and don't disturb the variables, let the mindfulness to get established, get the mindfulness gain the ground, and then little changes or big changes happens, follow what happens to the mindfulness while you change the posture. It may be a shaking of your finger, or maybe from sitting to walking, or when you are walking, normal walk into the turning point. Whenever such a thing happens, if you sharp enough to see even the posture changed with or without your consent, some find still the mindfulness is consistent, some find it is not. So, those who consider or believe I can't maintain the mindfulness while I am changing the posture, we call the beginners, but when and where you take it up that as a task or as an advancement and try to do, and one day when and where you prove, even the posture changed, even the object of meditation changed, but the mindfulness is continuous, that's a big advancement. For that, this sampajanya is again used. Once the mindfulness is established, you give different challenges, or let the challenges consider as a kind of a opportunity for you to see the performance of mindfulness. For that, you must be really thorough in your normal mindfulness, and now it is ready to see mindfulness is the posture junctions, and when and where you master it, the advantage you gain is your meditation in sitting, your meditation walking, and the day-to-day activities, you won't find much of a difference. Whether you sit in a meditation center on a cushion with the white cloth and the 8 precepts, or when you're normal sitting in the cushion and look at the television back at home, you can see the relationship. And from there you get up and go and do some task due to someone's demand or due to your internal this thing. You can understand how much you can maintain a kind of a mindfulness. So whenever you are putting the mindfulness into the test, in the sense of sampajanya, it's utterly come under the vipassana. Whenever you try to keep the mindfulness in the single object, unshaken, unchallenged, unchained, that is called samatha or concentration. There, whenever the object change, you complain. The object change, you become self-critical. You give up and go. But whenever you are training from samatha to vipassana, even the little changes happen due to the automatic thing or due to your own effort, you try to understand. The main thing is to maintain the mindfulness or the clear comprehension, and when and where such a thing happen, present day, where we have so much of duties and multitasking, and specifically majority of the meditators are lay, and they are not forest monks. Forest monks are hardly meditating, you don't know. But when you are, the lay people are fighting, lay people are striving, if there is no such a sampajanya kind of a door opening, you will be just stuck with the mindfulness only limited to the single object, only limited to the single task, single posture, or only in the meditation centers. So whenever you understand the sampajanya in a very clear way, at the beginning, you are completely unaware of it. But when and where challenges happen, and if you know how to put into practice, how to take them as a blessing in disguise or advantage, you can see not the you, but the Buddha himself has given thoughts and his disciples, and there are a lot of evidence and a lot of ways and means they have suggested to keep the continuity of mindfulness. backed by or galvanized by or reinforced by the sampajanya, so that part, then and there justification of your sampajanya is the what you get. It's a kind of a improvement, it's a kind of a maturity you earn. So you have to assimilate ways and means to keep the sampajanya is growing. So according to the mindfulness also diversify. So likewise, you do it with the feelings and you do it with the mental factors, chitta dhamma, and then all the rest, slowly as you advance in the fourth foundation of mindfulness, only in the Kayanupassana, early part, you can understand through the samatha, the rest of the whole areas are utterly vipassana. So, if you are going to understand the Satipatthana Bhavana or Satipatthana Sutta from the traditional samatha way, hardly you can get the sap of it, the juice of it, or the essence of it, because you try to maintain the external factors fixed, and then only you can experience or you can expect the progress. But the way the Buddha presented, at the beginning, yes, it is like plants in the nursery. They should have the shade, they should have the humidity, they should have water, fertilizer, everything. But once it is planted in the main ground, exposed to the normal climate, everything, and then it grows. You can't expect flowering in the nursery. You can't expect a fruition in the nursery. Nursery is to give the basic variables. Once it's come up to a certain level, you have to plant them into the mainland, and then it's a huge challenge. Likewise, when the Satipatthana is growing, if you are still it's still demanding the preliminaries, just like a Montessori or like in the nursery, that means you don't understand the meaning of sampajanya. You may well verse in the sati, or the mindfulness, but you never consider challenges as such, how to put into practice. Under such circumstances, anything change, any variable shaken, you are the loser. But if you understand the clear comprehension, the sampajanya, it is such a malleable thing, variable thing, you can fit into any situation if you know how to put it in a positive way, productive way. So therefore, give thoughts when and where mindfulness is about to jump above the fence. If the sampajanya is supporting, let it run. If the sampajanya is not supporting, that means your understanding of Dhamma or your perfections are not enough. So then again and again you have to take the refuge of the pasture land, never allowing to jump out. But without jumping out, no progress, no flowering, no fruition. And so, don't expect that is only limited to the time of the Buddha. But even if you are happy to see this radical way, that kind of radical reflection, you are the one to gain the results. But it's a kind of a running a risk. So if you are a risk lover, you get a lot of juice, lot of sap, lot of essence. But if you are limited to that all the basic conditions, you may feel comfortable, but no growth. So therefore, Sati Sampajanya is very important. And once that understanding is clear, then the Buddha is understanding, leading and suggesting about the Satara Samyak Pradhan Virya, that's a 4 limbs of striving, that indicates, after the understanding of the mindfulness, how to fertilize it, how to give the nutriment for that. is just like a child. At the beginning, you are not going to give high protein. You give already half digested food till the child gain the digestive power and the digestive system and some resistance to the germs. And therefore, at the beginning, you have to feed half digested children food. Likewise, at the beginning, the kind of energy you have to give Arambha Dhatu, that's initial energy, launching energy, is always very mild, very soft. But when and where give it again and again, when the mindfulness is growing, the texture of your energy must be changed. So when it is going to happen? Is it happen after 3 retreats of 10 days, or will it happen within 1 hour of meditation? It depends. So therefore, at the beginning, the Arambha Dhatu, you must be ready to tune into that. That is called beginner's mind. Whatever, even if you are an Arahant, even if you are an Anagami or Sakadagami, your initial or starting point must be ABCD method from the 0 level. That's a kind of a humbleness, sincerity. But if you are a seasoned person, mature person, seasoned to the place and the meditation system, within few minutes or within few seconds or few breaths time, it may quickly go into the next step of energy, Nikkama Dhatu, and there you may keep on progress from the yesterdays to today, and ultimately you make qualified to the Parakkama Dhatu, that last striving, and that can happen within a sitting or not. But Nikkama Dhatu, you must understand daily you are refining your ways and means, daily you are observing new areas and apply the energy different ways. So in the simple sense, at the beginning, your energy is utter full. So much of investment. When the Nikkama Dhatu level, your quality of energy is refined. And Parakkama Dhatu, it's mere wisdom. You are not using energy. Everything happen effortlessly. But your wisdom is really monitoring. So therefore at the beginning it is full of energy. Middle area you are shifting to the energy with wisdom. And the end of the story is energy appear in terms of wisdom. But in this Sattva Samyak Pradhan Virya, that for the great efforts or limbs of striving, same thing put in the different perspective. The 4 kinds of efforts one has to understand in order to facilitate your mindfulness, in order to facilitate your satipatthana. Anuppannānaṁ pāpakānaṁ akusalanam dhammānaṁ na uppadāya chandang janeti vayamati vidyang arabati chittam paggannāti padāti. It's a long term in Pali. The first and foremost thing once you understand the mindfulness is not to arouse unarisen defilements. Once the stream of consciousness become pure, maybe for a split second, maybe for 1 breath, maybe for 1 left leg or right leg, then you must understand now you know how to make the stream of consciousness pure for a split second, and there may be another defiling, again defiling in the next thought moment. So therefore you must see ways and means not to get it defiled in the next thought moment, that is to not to arouse unarisen defilements, because you are the only qualified person now to not to arouse unarisen defilement, because you have the confidence now, present moment I am pure, I am mindful. But there are a lot of things not under your control. The next moment you may be unmindful. So not to allow that kind of unmindfulness to set in, you must take precautions. So this is called not to arouse unreasoned defilements in your stream of consciousness, and that also not happen overnight. It is not happen by one stroke. It's happened with so much of episodes. Chandan janeti, vayamati, viryang arabati, chittam paggannati, padhati. First and foremost thing you have to understand, due to my effort, I now understand one split-second mindfulness, and equally I know next moment again it will be defiled. And what about taking an effort not to arouse unreasoned defilement in the next thought moment? It's a kind of a confidence. It's a kind of contentment. Because you at least experience split-second or momentary mindfulness, and how to work with the next moment, not to arouse, you must have your own will, your own zest. So that is, the Buddha can't give it. You have to understand with so much of effort, maybe weeks or months, you now know the mindfulness. And equally you know with your common sense, next thought moment I may not be mindful, that is possible. But what about striving? What about putting forth the will or the zest to keep the next moment not to get defiled is called Chanda Janeti. So that very radical reflection, if you think you are inferior, if you think world is against you, if you think the situation is governed by a lot of variables, so under such circumstances, how can I even have a will or zest to not to arouse in the next moment? That is what they call putujjana. They never think, even luck by chance you become mindful, you don't think it is your prime duty to have at least a will as a try or zest. Next moment also possible, because you are now in the upright position. Next moment you can topple, but have a will. So this is the revolutionary way. It's very tiny. A thought moment like kind of a will, and it is a risky thing. But anyway, nothing like trying. Why not have a will? So that the Buddha says, but I can't impose that upon you. But if you, by listening Dhamma, by association good friends and noble people, if you feel like try, that makes difference. That is the thing, make the difference. So therefore, Chanda Janeti, Chanda Mulaka Sabbe Dhamma. The Buddha says, everything, good or bad, depend on your will, depend on your zest. So if you give up and say, let it happen, I have no determination, no kind of thing, so give up, definitely the karmic forces will come and you have steamroll. Don't allow everything to the karmic force. You think there's a kind of a will. And you have zest, or we can say your will in the sense you want to have some kind of a change. And you think that change starts in the very tiny little way, but you have to arouse it within. And when that happens, you look at the problem, look at the situation in a different view. So that Chandan Janeti, is the most important thing, and it is very, very difficult for you to create someone's will. If you're going to do, that's the biggest crime on the human mind. If you're going to create a will in another person, if you are going to create a zest in another person, that is the biggest crime. That is called the conviction, and that is what we call, what is today's religion is. You try to impose will upon others. That is influencing into the other psychology. It's a biggest crime. But you have the 100% responsibility to give a try within yourself. That is what we call the human right. That is our human right. So if you, without doing that, if you ask your children to do it, if you ask your parents to do it, if you ask your the family members to do or any kind of thing, utter disappointment. It's utter disappointment. So this is what we call the family life. You can wash and clean. Without you strive and do and get the results, and halfway your way, if you try to impose the will or kind of thing to the other person, it's utterly you are going to see the disappointment. So therefore, chanda is very important, but here the chanda is not to impose others, but do it in yourself. So therefore, now the mindfulness come into the position, be mindful and mind your own business. Very difficult. As you are a member in a group or society or family, you think it is selfish. So that is the beauty of the unmarried life. We are registered bachelors. No problem. You can do any revolutionary thing and you are not answerable. I am not telling that you are breaking precepts or unethical or transgressing. But very tiny things, you say, okay, now I am mindful. I am going to give a zest or try or will. Next moment also I must I must keep the stream of consciousness as pure as now. So this is called Chanda Janeti. Vayamati, just by mere will it won't happen. You have to exert some energy. The Buddha mentioned, Nakopanetam bhikkhave ichcheyo pattabbam. Just by will nothing happens. With the will in front, then you have to make an effort, vayamati, and therefore you must have already reserved energy by that time. If you are exhausted, just will also will not happen, and once the will is there, now the situation is clear, then vayamati. And if then you see good side, good omen or bad omen, whenever it is possible, viryang arapati, then only you think about the stirring up energy to go forward. It's a very tiny thing. Maybe you get a pain and you try to get about to give up your anapanasati or mindfulness on the in-breath and out-breath. So instead you think, can I see the breath through the pain? Or see through the pain? That is, theoretically, even the pain is there. You are not dead. Breath is there. So therefore, instead of giving up, just see the breath through the pain. Or see the breath through sounds. See the breath through thoughts. Likewise, you just give a try. Viryang arabhati, chittam pagganati. Whenever you try to, you are about to see, even the sounds are distracting, even the pains are distracting, even the thoughts are distracting, they can completely kill the mindfulness on the breath. Mindfulness of the breath is cornered. But if you can give the highlighting power to that cornered mindfulness on the breath, you can see still the sounds are there, pains are there, anything are there. What the Buddha mentioned is, whenever such a competitive thing happens, don't look the detail of the distraction. Don't see the characteristics of the distraction. Don't try to see the manners of the distraction. Much more go to the see detail of the distraction, so much so you will be carried out. Instead, take the attention to the breath and see the shapes and the manners and the content, everything of the breath. Then you are better off. So, what a subtle way, what a detailed approach the Buddha says, Chakuna rupan diswa, na nimittak gayoti, nani byanjanak gayoti, attvadikarna metang asangutam virantang uppajjati papaka akusala dhamma, thassa sangvaraya apajjati. When you observe We'll say your pasture land is mindfulness on the breath, or your primary object is mindfulness on the breath. And there may be some visual object. And you know this is secure, safe, and you know it is a astray mind, unmindful mind, and such. When it is happening, your wandering mind is not helping you to be mindful on the primary object, because it is always searching for pleasure principle. It's always go for the varietal entertainment. The breath appear very boring. Breath appear very monotonous. Instead, the visual objects appear very colorful, intruding. Under such circumstances, if we have the comprehension, clear comprehension, you must understand, even if it is boring, even if it is monotonous, even if it is lethargic, this is a safe land. The intruding visual object, even if it is colorful and dramatic and distracting, unreasoned defilements can arise. So under such circumstances, na nimittak gayi hoti, nanu bhyanjanak gayi hoti. Don't note it. Don't take the shapes and the manner of that. Yatvadi karna metang asangutam virantang uppajjati papaka akusala dhamma tattva sangvaraya appajjati. Now your stream of consciousness is pure, because it is with the breath. Now it is intruding, so we have to give the priority. Don't that giving priority means don't look at the shapes, the manners and all the kind of attractive nature of the visual objects, because that is the source for the unreasoned defilements to arise. Now your stream of consciousness has certain assurance, it is with the breath. But the thing is, unspoken thing is, the breath is boring. Breath is monotonous. Breath is lethargic. So therefore you, without understanding these four limbs of striving, you just let that colorful thing to happen, dramatic thing to happen. Ultimately you succumb into the situation. So unreasoned defilements can arise. So don't blame the intruding visual objects. Because you have already assigned mindfulness is there with the breath, and you have listened to it. Yesterday also you are wrong. Today also you are in a wavering situation. And the moment you understand this is the source for the unreasoned defilements, and the breath appear boring, monotonous, but secure. It's safe land. So can I take this stage, clearly comprehend the situation? Even the senses are happy with the visual objects than the breath. The Buddha is whispering to your mind, hey darling, this breath is your safe land. This is your oasis. This is your protection. So this is the way it happened. It happened in a very innocent way. But if you're going to give the priority, you will slip into that, and ultimately it will take you for a ride, because you take a note of it. You take the content of it. You take the shape and the manner of it. That indicates mind is about to slip. So what about not to look at it, not to note it, not to see the shapes and the manners? That is what you call the mental discipline. Not it is physical and verbal. That is what you call sila. This is beyond sila. Two options are there. One thing is very colorful, very attractive. It's free of charge, it comes. But instead you have already developed safe land. And now you have a opportunity. And when such a thing happens, that means if you are clearly comprehend the situation, the Buddha give your security, the safety first system. Try to adhere to the mindfulness. That means you have to see through the visual object and see, even if you are looking, breath is there. Not that breath has gone, but your crazy mind, your craving mind always go for the pleasure principle without your agenda, without your initiative. So this is the slippery land. So you have the safe land. So under such circumstances, if you can see, there's a 50-50 chances. And if you're seeing, understanding, being aware that situation is the only safe for you. not your past merit you have done, anything you know, theory, whatever may be, if you can understand the situation and say, this is safe land, this is unsafe, and that understanding itself is more than Buddha. That understanding is more than Dhamma. That understanding is more than Sangha. That understanding definitely more than your precepts. Because this is not physical verbal, this is the mental. So imagine, if you are not instructed like that, if you are not even with the moral restraint, when you are in the carnival, when you are in the supermarket, and verily the Sayadaw says, if the girlfriend is in front of the boyfriend, imagine the way the defilements are rising. Can you measure it by tons? Look at it. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, everything is prolific defilements. And that is what we are promoting by the advertisements. And that is the world we are living. That's the consumerization. That's the way you can pull your attention, someone's mind adverted. So whenever we are in the untrained situation, uninstructed situation, and you appear like innocent still, because you go to the supermarket not to see these kind of things, but that's the way they sell the product. This is what you call the commercialization. This is the make the commodity. That's the way they do make the supply and demand. So even if you are not in the supermarket, even in the meditation while practicing Anapana, the visual objects coming. Sounds are coming. Thoughts. So naturally they attract you because you are in the monotonous same object. So understanding it is completely a new fresh chance for you. So that is what you have to see. Not to arouse unreasoned defilement, you must go be prepared. That was your will. That is your zest. Of course, at the beginning it's utter failure. Because mind is running with the whole traits and the underlying tendencies and the dispositions, and you don't know how it happens. But you must understand, at that critical point, if you do not make a try, if you do not analyze situation, if you feel the next Buddha will come and save you, or your creator God will come and save you, that's the way we call escapism. You are responsible. 1001 times you may slip. One day, if you go with the will, if you go with the zest, and if you have take little effort, even after a while, if you can take a little effort, and if you try to give a chance, try to give a challenge, one day you can see, while you are slippering into that, still you can understand, now I am shifting from my safe land to the slippery land, and halfway sometimes you can bring it back. So when it is happening, you see the dynamism or the diligent nature of Dhamma, vigilant nature of Dhamma, living nature of Dhamma, and definitely that half-done job will give a more enthusiasm for you to not to fall into that situation when it happens next time. Likewise, slowly you are reinvesting your understanding. So one day you will see once the stream of consciousness become pure, it is easier for such a person to make a plan, make an effort, not to allow unreasoned defilements to happen. And that is rather, in the commentary exegesis, see, it's utterly effort. And still, there may be already a recent defilement within, under such circumstances also. That is to say, when you have put your city is covered by the water barriers, parapet walls, security, and you are sure that no external guys or spies can come. But there may be already crept spies inside the safe land, within the fort. So that is still you have to suffer. To be aware of that, not allowing the unreasoned thing to happen, but you have to understand already a reasoned thing may be there. And that understanding, you must be self-critical. Even if you are mindful, even if you are striving, still there may be. So therefore, give a choiceless awareness, give a equally suspended attention, and don't think the whole area is fully safe. Don't a whole area is without any spy or any conspiracy. So look at it with the kind of the CID kind of eye. Observe everything without the preconceived ideas, partial, and when it is happening, you see already arisen defilements. There may be, so they sometimes cheating you, sometimes give perversions. So don't buy their ideas, just observe. These are the things, the boredom, monotony, and the lethargic nature, that is natural level, like it happens. And you feel like it is reasonable, but be aware. Now earlier your idea was to be with the breath or be with your primary object, maybe materiality. And when it is happening, the boredom happens. Then they are the boredom, the monotony and the lethargic nature. They are not materialistic. They are mental. And they come without prior notice. So therefore, if you keep on observing them and report to the teacher or to your interviews, while I am observing, I felt like get up and go. I felt like enough. So that means you are definitely reporting as and when it happens. You don't consider it as my weakness or it's bad thing to report. So whenever if you are going to remove that kind of thing, the listener, the teacher can't understand what is happening. So therefore you must have the genuine and the credible reporting. After a while I feel lethargic. After a while I feel even I am with the breath, it is not interested in. I feel bored or watery taste. So these are the ways to understand already existing the defilement in your stream of consciousness. If you think not to mention them or not to pay attention, they will take the mean advantage of it. So reporting is the only way, or true to type report is the only way. You are just a researcher. You are not the analyzer. You are not the commentator. You have to just report. And under such circumstances, a lot of weaknesses usually we overlook in our character, personality. You are just reporting because you trust the teacher, you trust the Buddha, you trust the Dhamma, you trust the Sangha. And reporting, it is like counseling. After long sessions only you feel like talk the truth. It is also not you are talking, it is happening. Due to the relationship and due to the trust, it is just catharsis coming out. So when that happens, you see, the Purusha Dhamma Sarathi nature of the Buddha, he can adjust. Adjustable people, impersonal. If you know how to report things as they are, Dhamma is working. It is not a planned thing, but repetitive reporting and incessant way reporting, one day these things will come out. It is like in counseling. Sometimes it is just talk. After long association, long trust, and then only you can understand through your counselor, who am I, what am I, how it happens. So earlier you never noticed them as important, and sometimes you think it is unethical not to mention and kind of thing. And this part, sorry to mention, very, very difficult for young girls. They can't report. Whenever they are reported, the listener may misuse it. Young boys, also adolescents specifically, they never report as it happens. Just very young girls and boys, they can do it. But very old people also can do, but useless. Useless. Too old. Only good for compost. But I am asking how to make the young girl and boys to trustworthy, the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and just to tell and understand this mere telling is the treatment. If we expose, that's it. Or if you brood it, pent-up energy. Not pent-up energy, it's a germ. So the Buddha says, Vivato virochatina paticcanno. Whenever you get the trustworthy person, just let loose. And the telling itself is just that the defilement can't live once exposed. If you consider this defilement is me, mine and myself, you never expose. If you consider this is a human mind, it's a cause and effect, so it happens, you just mention. That mentioning, the will, the zest, the effort, the striving is something very beautiful thing, but against the grain, unethical maybe. Or that is not the common language you are using. But without such a exposure, there won't be any change you can expect. And once that way, unarisen defilements also, you take care. Already arisen defilements also, you just talk. Only to the trustworthy person, then only you understand what a kind of help you can do a human being, because they are so much brooding, so much holding into your mistakes. And whenever they are not there, you have so much of ways and means to do meritorial deeds, or so to say, skillful things, endlessly. Then only you are qualified to think about others' well-being. Because you know how perverted your mind is, how cheating your mind is, what a kind of a communication you are using. You are always hindering, phobia, or kind of a thing, the truth never come out. Even in the interviews, even if you wish. This is the way you have to understand. That is why the Samaggana Taposuko, whenever the meditators are sharing each other, or communicating each other, it's a simple way. And that means you know the sum. If you know the sum, answer is there. If you without read the sum and understand the sum, whatever the way you going to work it, it never works. So therefore, be with your question, be with your friction, and understand there's a way out. You first trust upon the Kalyana Mitta. You trust upon the noble friend. And just tell. Later you can replace your Kalyana Mitta with your own mindfulness or clear comprehension. A short circuit can happen. So this expression, the truth, true to type, is so electric. And then understand, whenever you have this friendly relationship or meditative relationship, it's more than blood relationship. And ultimately, there are a lot of ways you can create unarisen merits or unarisen skillful things, because people are desperately brooding. They are holding into their attention, holding into their frustration, holding into their neurosis. They sleep with it, and next day morning also wake up with that. They die with it and reborn with them. This is the trust, the dowry you are using. So you don't know the Buddha is available, Dhamma is available, Sangha is available. Just express. Don't express in the day-to-day newspapers. Express to the person trustworthy, and that is the blessing. So for that also you must have a Chanda Janeti, Vayamati, Viryangaravi. You must have the zest. You must have the will. And that is what you call mutual understanding, reciprocally the effect. And both the parties are benefited. When you are helping, you also gain something. And when you are consulting someone, the consulting person also getting. So this is how Dhamma is becoming very dynamic. And not by brooding, not by reading, not by contemplating within, you can't get out. At the beginning, you must have a mirror. You must have a Kalyana Mitta. And you just tell. And when you are telling, you see that by mere trusting, expressing, it becomes a catharsis like. ultimately you find the ways and means to how to make this skillfulness perfect. Of course, you must not be utterly perfect to understand or go to the Nibbana. Halfway you understand, then you see each and every human, each and every being under the same snare or same spell of this untrustworthy, untrusting. We suspect each other. We suspect oneself. We suspect each other. And that is exactly the trump card of the politician. Make each other not trustworthy. That is their whole thing. And that is what the economists are doing. Don't trust people, just trust dollars. Just trust money. And that is what the socialist people are doing. He says, hey, you can't compromise yourself. I have to come. I am the mediator, so please let me know. So he is going to get the mean advantage. Say, oh, these are agenda, dirty agenda. Your mindfulness is the trustworthy person. At the beginning, if it is not up to the mark, take your noble friend, tell. And if it's misusing, he is utterly not a noble friend. The Buddha says, Guyang asa avikaroti, guyam asa pariguyati. The noble friend tell all the truths, irrespective of whether good or bad to the disciple. But whatever the disciple is telling, he hide them, never misuse it. So it's a kind of a shock absorber. Absorb and never give. But if it is a role model, he give. This is what happened to me. You are not special. This is what it happens like. He give under the nose experience. So this is the way Dhamma become living. And effort become aesthetic. Effort is usually it is very burning and full and kind of. But when it is sharing happens, you don't believe how the communication takes place, how the rectification of this kind of stress kind of thing happen. So therefore, if a single person, he know the four limbs of striving, first not to arouse unarisen defilement, and then to do away with already arisen, and then helping others, like sharing with others, and ultimately when he is perfecting. Recently also one person wrote an article telling, even the whole world, whole population is doing the wrong. If one person straighten up his mind, he can compensate all the pollutions. He can cool down the warming of the globe. One single mind. So therefore don't think the making your mind straighten is a private job. It is not a person, it is not a selfish thing. Once it come up to the level, enormous, more you help, more you gain. So it's ultimately snowballing effect happens. So at the beginning it's costing so much. But when you further go there, this gathering the momentum and snowballing, when it happens, you see that at the beginning, even the meditation is selfish. But when it is going to progress, ultimately you can see the Buddha nature. You can see the Dhamma nature. You can see the Sangha. Sangha means our congregation, trusting each other. And you understand without precepts you can't go. But this is not precepts. This is beyond precepts. But you have to have the precepts. So likewise you see the effort or four limbs of this effort. The first part is not equal to the second is not equal to the third is not to the fourth. It's like a evolution or metamorphosis, and you go there and come back, again go there and come back, so you master it. And after this, giving this Satra Samyak Pradhan Vidya, the Buddha says, Satra Irdipada, that is the ways for success. Chanda, Virya, Chitta, Mimamsa, the whole population, they take 4 different methods to achieve the success. It's somewhat parallel to what we have mentioned. Some people go by their will. They make a determination of the will. I will strive, whatever the failure happen, I will never give up, because it's chanda, or it's a working position of your, or dynamic part of your faith. It's a dynamic, it's functioning. Whatever the difficulty happen, you keep on practicing. That's called just chanda. There also you can get a kind of a concentration, chanda samadhi. And then virya is what we mentioned. You have enough incessant kind of energy. You apply slow releasing. Whenever difficulty happen, you have enough energy, energetic. And through that also you can do. And the chitta samadhi means when and where you got the concentration, and there you find the power, you find the determination power of the concentrated mind. And whenever you are not concentrated, you never give up. You say, whenever the alignments are there, again the mind can be concentrated, and then I get the determination power. So therefore you remember your past concentration and try to regain it without giving up your effort. And they call the chitta, or the determination power, and they are the usual leaders. All the people are desperate and they will give up. But the chitta samadhi, they know the people need the leadership. People need a role model. For that role model, I must not give up. Even everyone is going to give up. He get the chittam paggannati, he get the striving force, and ultimately that become his own energy. And therefore, there is a kind of a people with the chitta samadhi, that means a determination power. And the last one is the mimamsa, he is with the inquiring mind, with the wisdom. Whenever something goes wrong, just observe what is the cause and effect relationship, and see what are the missing links. Or understand the critical path analysis. And when I was success, it was a lie. When it is not the success, these are the missing links. Like he do inquiries and wisdom they are using, and it may be something opposite of the chanda. Chanda is a will, but the wisdom is a bit opposite like chanda. You see the formula and do it with the inquiring mind. And these people, the present day scientific education is really promoting it. And sometimes if it is overemphasized, your chanda will be undermined. So chanda and mimamsa must be equal. But at the beginning, there are four types of people, 4 types of mendicants. Some people life is full of chanda, that means full of devotion. Some people never give up, and they have already a positive balance of the energy. They keep on practicing. Chitta kind of a people, they believe their past alignment, and they know, even for the moment I am eccentric, alignment is not there, I will not give up. Because if it is so, whole the other system will give up. So therefore, he take this chitta shakti, or the determination power, and some people completely through the mimamsa. Mimamsa means the inquiring way and the investigating way, and the wisdom. Each and every failure he consider as a different combination, and to see why it happens. Failure is not me, but it is a sum I have to work with. Likewise, that Satara Samyak Pradhan Virya will be facilitated by Iddipada. So many people told Iddipada is the way go by sky or fly. That is the way the traditional people are considered the Iddipada, Iddhi. But the Iddhi here is the way of success. So, same person may use all the 4 Iddipadas also. As and when he is developing and becoming mature, he may be changing one to the other. But the commentators, they try to say the Chanda kind of a characters, Virya kind of a characters, Chitta kind of a characters, and Mimamsa kind of characters, and they, Nettipakarana and others give a very detailed analysis. but it is also not hard and fast. It's changing. So usually the Samatha people go by the Chanda and Chitta. Vipassana people go by Virya and Mimamsa. So therefore, whatever the failure happen, they never give up. They keep on practicing. Even Samatha people say present day meditation is not a success. You have to wait for the next Buddha to appear. Not nice to become enlightened today. And nonsense, you keep it up there. But Mimamsa people keep on striving. So recently for the last 30-40 years, you can easily see this Mimamsa aspect, that inquiring mind and investigation kind of people, they are not really born Buddhist. They understand the power of mindfulness. They try to see the beauty of mindfulness, and they give a challenge to the traditional Buddhists. You can be a Buddhist and still be revolutionary. You can be a Buddhist and still be a very traditional. So that is to, within yourself, there are a lot of characters are living. So give a chance, take whatever the appropriate technology for that. So therefore don't go for only on the same rut. Think alternative arrangements. For that is the way the four limbs of striving can become sharper. Because you are approaching from the different angles. Ultimately, you are waiting for the next opportunity to happen and then push through. So therefore it's a kind of a opportunist like. Vipassana yogi is an opportunist. He always tries, get the soft end and dash through. And you can't explain what once you successful, you know. But it is not applicable to the other person. You can't make theories out of that, because whenever you are going to make theories, you are eccentric. You are fighting for the next challenge, next event. So therefore, it's a very, very dramatic, it's a very, very eventful life if you have the Mimamsa. So, educated crowd is usually happy with this Mimamsa or inquiring or investigating type, but don't undermine the others also. Get the best combination and try to maintain the mindfulness as much as possible, so much so you are developing a cumulative effect, or experience is gaining. So therefore even it is not multivarious or diversifying, just be mindful on your, so to say, your posture with different kind of energy and different kind of the ways of success. And if you feel it is increasing, that is what we expect the most in the residential retreat like that. And we are individually taking our own method, even though we are sitting together and listening together and work together. So more and more you practice and find your specific method, you will be independent of Buddha. You will be independent of Dhamma. You will be independent of Sangha. You won't believe you will be independent of Sila also. Because your method becomes sharper and sharper. So therefore don't give up. Make your combination or your equilibrium familiarize, and ultimately that will in return help you. With that remark, I would like to sum up the talk today. Thank you very much for listening.